Good morning and welcome to Lane Arts Council. I'm Victoria Wills, and this morning we're going to be making a greeting card pop-up book for our final lesson in creating worlds from paper. So today we're going to be making a greeting card that will be something that if you wanted to show a friend or family member a moment from the world that you've been envisioning, that's something that we're going to be able to show in our greeting card. Before we begin, let's take a moment of mindfulness. I notice that I do my best work when I'm feeling peaceful and energized. Let's make our mindfulness moment something that can help us gather that peace and energy. So I invite you to take one hand and place it on your chest and the other at the top of your rib cage or on your belly. And we're going to take 3 breaths together. We're going to inhale for 4 counts and exhale for 6. So let's begin. And when we're inhaling, I'm going to back up a moment before let's begin. When we're inhaling, we're going to raise our hands a little bit above and then bring our hands back down close to ourselves, as if we can actually feel ourselves building the peace within. All right, so now let's begin. Ready? Inhale, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Last time. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's extend both of our arms all the way out to the sides, straight out as if we're a straight line. And wiggle your fingers a little bit, and we're going to send energy out, shooting through our fingers. And now gather that energy back in as you wrap your arms around yourself and give yourself a nice hug. Let's do that again on a diagonal. We're going to envision and create a diagonal line with our arms. Extend your arms all the way out along a diagonal line, shooting energy out your fingers, wiggle your fingers, and now bring your arms back in as we gather that energy, bring it in, and give yourself a nice diagonal hug. And let's do that in the other diagonal direction. So if we're an airplane, there we go. We're in the other opposite diagonal, and we're shooting energy out our fingertips. Wiggle your fingers, shooting out energy. And now bring that energy back in and give yourself a good diagonal hug. All right. Coming back up to our neutral center position, lengthening your spine, place your hands in your lap. And I'm hoping that you feel full of peaceful energy. And remember that you can do that mindfulness moment and stretch anytime during your day if you need to feel a little bit of peace and maybe build your energy up a little bit. And you can share that with your friends and family too. Let's get started with our project today. We've so far had an opportunity to envision our world and create a planning journal where you drew a picture and you created a name for your world. We also created a 3D landscape in which you were able to show some of the plants that were living in your world. And we created a circle mask that showed one of the creatures from your world. We've had an opportunity to spend some time wandering around and seeing what's in your world, who lives there, what's happening in there. Today, we're going to create a greeting card that will show kind of a snapshot of something that you'd like to share in your world. If you were wanting to give somebody an idea who'd never been there before, that's what we're going to show in the card. Let's get started. Let's gather our materials. Here's what we're going to need for today. We'll need some paper, 3 pieces of paper. We will need our drawing materials. So that can be colored pencils or markers or crayons. We'll need our scissors and something to do our assembling of our pop-up greeting card. Today we'll be using either glue stick or tape. Let's begin. In our first step, we're going to take one piece of paper and fold that piece of paper in the same way that we've been doing the fold in previous lessons. Placing a hand on the paper, lifting the other side, matching the corners, pressing center, pressing fingers apart. With this piece of paper on the front, we are going to create the picture for your pop-up greeting card, the outside. Imagine that this can be a little snapshot of what is to come. The inside is still a surprise for whoever gets to see this card. So the outside will just show a little bit about what you'd like to show on the cover of your greeting card. You might want to draw just the sky or some favorite plant or an interesting creature. Maybe you'd like to draw some words on your own or with the help of an adult mentor and decorate the words. Before we do that, so that's what's going here. Before we go ahead and create that picture, we're going to draw some guidelines for cutting and making the pop-up part, which we call the pop-up staircase. Let me back up and share. Here's an example of what we're going to be cutting and drawing, this shape in here. What I need you to do is find the folded edge of your greeting card. And once you've found that folded edge, we're going to eyeball. That means we're not going to scientifically measure, but we're going to just judge, make a guess with our eye. Where's the middle? Where's the center of that folded edge? And put a finger there. Now put another finger next to that. And we have two fingers, and we're going to draw two lines that are about 2 fingers apart on our paper. So I'm going to place my right hand there because I need my left hand for drawing. And I have 2 fingers, and I'm going to draw 2 lines right about up to my first knuckle on those fingers. This is the knuckle on your finger. I'm going to draw right about up to that first knuckle. So I have 2 lines drawn right there. These lines are what we call our cutting guide. Now let's pick up our scissors after you've gotten those 2 lines drawn and you've measured that with your fingers. And I'm going to cut along those cutting guidelines, and I'm going to stop at the end. That's why I measured right to my first knuckle. We want these 2 lines to be about the same length. So I'm going to make that one a little bit longer because I saw it was a little shorter. 2 lines the same length. And now I'm going to cut the 2 lines and stop at the end of the line. That's why we call it a guideline, because we only cut where the line guides us to cut. All right, I'll put my scissors back. Now we can begin with our cover decoration. These lines are not only a cutting guideline, but they help to show us where we don't want to draw our picture. So whatever you're drawing on the cover, whatever the decoration is for the cover of your card, we're not going to draw in here. All right, so let's take a moment and decorate the cover of our card. And we have our drawing material, so I invite you to look at your colors, see what you have. Maybe you want to experiment and see how different colors look next to each other. Maybe colors that you haven't used so far. And I'm thinking of the color combinations that I'd like to use, because sometimes one color, for example, this pink, might look different if I used it next to a green compared with how it would look if I used it next to a yellow. So we're going to decorate the front of our card. And I'm going to choose to decorate my card with some abstract lines. Abstract is a word that we use to describe something that we can't name, maybe a shape, a color, a texture. Something that we could name would be representative. So that would be, for example, a cat, or an elbow, or a fried egg, or a duck. But abstract refers to when we're drawing and experimenting with colors and shapes. So I'm experimenting with colors and curved lines, and I'm interested in seeing how the how the pink looks compared to how it looks with green or yellow. And I'm decorating my card. Think about covering your entire card with drawing. Sometimes we forget that we can use the entire surface. And I'm going to experiment with some other colors as well. So I decorate my card. And I'm about ready for us to move on and go to the next step, which would bring us to thinking about what we're going to show on the inside of our card. And just one more curved line. All right. It's hard to stop drawing. So now we've got a design on the outside of our card, being careful not to draw here. And if you did draw in between these guidelines, that's okay. Remember, we always like to let art surprise us. Now, on the inside of the card, we're going to show something that will create a moment in time from the world, from your world that you created. That means that you might want to share a special creature and a special background that was particularly interesting to you. I'm going to open my card up, and we notice when the card is open that we can see where the cut was made. When we decorate this part of the card and put our details in, we're not going to draw right inside of this area. And these lines will be, these cutting lines will be our guidelines of the area that we're going to draw all around the outside of. Coming back to the example of our pop-up card. Here's a pop-up card with no details yet, but a pop-up creature. This part that we cut is going to be the stair step that holds our pop-up creature upright. And so that's the surprise. You can think of the design that you're going to draw that will show behind your pop-up creature, and this is what we're calling the background. Here, where it is showing where your creature is standing, and the part behind will show what your creature is standing in front of. So again, go back into your world in your mind and think about what would you like to show on your card so that when you're telling somebody about your world and you want them to know what it looks like and you want to pick a special moment in time, what are you going to show on that card? Take that idea and let's apply that to drawing on our card now. Again, we can make those color choices, drawing on the back and then the part that your creature is standing on. So let's go ahead and do some drawing. So my creature was a fish, and some fish can climb trees. I am right now choosing to keep my fish in the water. So I'm going to draw some shapes that remind me of water. Again, I guess I'm doing some abstract shapes. I'm not drawing something that we might look at and say, that's the ocean or that's a river, but I'm drawing some shapes that remind me of water. So please take some time, and I invite you to decorate the background of your card. Sometimes we forget that we can use the whole work surface that we have available when we're drawing. You can cover the whole piece of paper with your drawings and your textures. And I'm thinking of a river that's flowing around rocks, and so the water's moving in different directions, different curving directions. And I'm making some in the diagonal that we used, the diagonal line that we used when we were doing our mindfulness moment. I'm trying to remember to also use all directions when I'm making my drawings. And I'm going to choose a different shade of blue. When we're drawing or painting things that come from nature, notice that there is light and shadow on them, and so that can make something that you might think of, for example, a tree trunk, which you might see as brown. If you look extra close, you might notice that it's actually maybe tan and reddish and brown, light brown. And so when you're making your art, you can also try to make that happen and try to make color choices that allow you to use different colors as well. Let's remember to also decorate the background, the part that our creature is standing in front of. And I'm going to experiment with some other colors behind, such as greens, because maybe there's some seagrass where my creature is. My seagrass, I'm going to try to show that it's being pulled by the water. Again, I'm trying to use some curved lines to show that idea. And I'm going to remember to use my whole paper. Sometimes we don't remember that. Invite yourself to cover all the space on your paper. And let's see, just as on the bottom, I'm going to try to find some other shades of green to use as well. let's move forward. And if you haven't finished with your decorating, that's fine. You can either pause the video to give yourself more time or come back again and move forward after you've given yourself more time to finish decorating. I'd like us to move forward and work on our creature that we're going to be creating to put inside of our card. Let's put this greeting card to the side and take a new piece of paper. On this piece of paper, you're going to draw the creature that you plan to put in your card, the creature that will be your pop-up. The size of the creature you can take up your whole piece of paper if you'd like, or you can make your creature about the same size or smaller than your hand. So let's take a moment and draw your creature, draw the outline of your creature on your paper. Maybe your creature is the same creature that you used to make your circle mask, or maybe you'd like to show something else. But grab that idea and let's draw your creature. So I had a fish, and I'm really interested in that, so I'm gonna draw another fish. And I'm going to give it some little fin up at the top. And put in its eye. You can give it some details. Think about how this creature will really surprise the people that you share this card with. They won't even know what to expect when they open the card. And in the same way that you are trying to remember to cover your paper with your decoration, try to remember that you have your entire creature to decorate, and you want to think about what else might you add to give your creature more levels of interest as you add in the details. You can also remember that you can always go back later and add more details by pausing the video. I'm just going to add a few more details before our next step. So let's come to a good point to pause with this step. Okay, now we're going to cut out our creature. If you've drawn something that has, for example, an elephant with a long trunk, or a giraffe that has a long neck, that's going to be something that you want to make sure that it's strong enough to stand up when you cut it out. So a good way to take care is to cut out your design a little bit on the outside of the drawings that you made. So I'm going to show you, I'll show you my lines that I'm going to cut along before I cut so that you can see what I mean. My fish has a long pointy nose and it becomes narrow at the tail. So I'm going to choose to cut it out like this. Just staying a little bit out of my design. And I'm going to cut it out. When we're cutting and we come to a corner, instead of turning your arm like that, which feels really awkward, let's remember that we can cut, leave that place, and then come back in and cut from the other direction instead of turning your arm around in an uncomfortable way and almost tearing the paper. All right, so I've cut my creature out, and there it is. And I made sure to cut outside of the narrow lines. And it's time to assemble our card. So I've got my greeting card on the outside and my fish. So before I assemble the card, let's come to the outside with our card folded and locate this area in between the two cutting guidelines. Fold, gently pull it back. So when we fold, we hold down with one hand. Gently pull back on this piece and press the fold. I'm going to turn my card over, bring this piece back, and I'm going to press the fold on the other side. There we go. Now I'm going to open the card very carefully so that this doesn't tear. And with one hand behind, I'm going to push it in a little bit, and you can see it come out just like a little stair. I pull it out, and I'm going to close the card to press the fold. So I'm going to repeat that. I turned my card over so I could see the inside. I put my hand behind, and I'm pushing with my fingers to press the little stair step up, and then I can see it standing. Closing it back up again, notice the portion that's underneath the fold line. I'm going to take a little bit of glue and place and draw a little line of glue on that area underneath the fold. We do not need any glue on the top. We only need glue there. If you're using tape, then you can take a piece of tape and fold it into a tape bubble by folding both ends over each other, and place your tape bubble again underneath that folded line. I'm going to take my fish and see where I need to place the fish, but pull open your pop-up card and decide where you want your creature to be, on the side, more toward the center, peeking out its nose. I'm going to choose to make my fish peeking out its nose. I'm going to put it all the way over to the side here. I'm opening the card to make sure that the fish won't get folded over. So you'll need to experiment with that by holding this little stair step up and standing your creature up to make sure that it can actually stand before pressing and closing your card to press on the tape or the glue. And open up the card, and there we have your pop-up card. Let's just take a moment and reflect on what you've accomplished in this lesson. You took some ideas from your world and you gathered them together, and you shared some on the front of your card as a sneak peek to what would be within your card for the reveal, which was a snapshot of a perfect moment in your world. And you can use that card to share with a family member or a friend. Please make sure that you tell somebody about what you accomplished, and make sure that you share the activities that you made during these lessons with a friend or a family member, somebody that you know, and tell them about what you learned and the new skills that you tried maybe for the first time, and the process that you used to come up with all the good ideas that you used in making this art. I'd invite you to go back through this lesson and take one idea, one thing that you chose to showcase in this card that you feel really proud about. And just think on that idea for a moment and think about the good feelings that come from recognizing your accomplishment. And you can take that good thought with you and repeat it throughout your day whenever you need a little reminder of your success. Thank you so much for joining me in this lesson, and I hope you remember to keep art making in your day. Bye.